So, good evening once again. Today, we are going to look at the cost of capital. Cost of capital, and as you can see my screen, I said cost of capital refer to the total finance amount a company incurs to raise funds from both debt and equity source. So, when we are talking of the cost of capital, what we are actually saying is that total finance amount a company incur to raise funds from both debt and equity. Suppose if your company is trying to finance a project and they are in need of funds, don't forget that they can actually go to the finance house or bank to source for funds. So if you source for fund, they are not going to give you that fund free of charge. You are going to they are going to charge you to the cost that you paid for getting that loan or the fund is known as the cost of capital. That's what I say. The cost of capital refers to the total finance amount a company incur to raise funds from both debt and what equity source. Is either from the debt or from the equity. And if we check it from the angle of as a company going for financing, probably you want to finance your project and you approach the finance house to seek for loan. So we can see cost of capital from that perspective. Another way that we can also see the cost of capital, because it represents the minimum rate of return a company must achieve on what? On investment to satisfy the expectation of what? Of the investor and the what? And the lender. So we can also see cost of capital from that perspective as well. Is that you see it from sourcing for fund and you incur the certain amount for getting that fund, or you see from the angle of what the minimum return on your what investment. Are we there?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, we're with you.
Now, when I move
Yes, sir.
further, when I move further, I also said that the cost of capital is the price a company incur to borrow money or raise capital from investor to fund its operation or investment. If you look at this, you discover that I've explained this in the past, that the cost of capital is a what? It refers to the total finance amount. Then, when I come here, for simplicity, I also say cost of capital is the price a company incur to borrow money or raise fund or raise capital from investor to fund its operations or investments. Now, this cost of capital that you now see now include the both what is it called, the interest rates that you paid on debt and the return expected by what investor for providing equity financing. So if we say cost of capital, we are looking it from the angle that if you approach finance house, the interest that you are paying for the debt or for the borrowing. And if we are looking it from another angle, we also say it is a return. Is a return that the investor, that is those who provide capital for you, the return they are expecting from giving you equity finance. Equity finance. Is it clear? Hello?
Yes.
Any question, please? Any question?
Not from my end. Not from me.
Okay. So apart from that, we have important of course of capital for business. So one of the important for cost of capital for business, because I said cost of capital is like a compass that guide a company toward the financial goal. So that's what we mean by when we say cost of capital, we see it as what? As a guide, as a guide. That is, we see it as a compass. You know, compass is giving you a direction. So cost of capital is like a what? Compass that guides a company toward its financial goal. Financial goal. Number one important is that it is important because it helps a company to determine the minimum return it needs to generate from what? From investment to satisfy the expectation of the investor and lender. So that is one of the major important of what? Cost of capital, because it will help the company to determine the what? The minimum return it needs to generate from investment to what? Satisfy the expectation of what? Investor and lender. Another thing that we can also see as important is that what's it called? A company can also make informed decision about which fund source to be used and which project to want to pursue. Because as this cost of capital, it will guide the management to what to make informed decision about which fund source to be used and which project to be what pursue. That is, are we going to getting the fund from the debt or through equity? So cost of capital will definitely guide the management in order to make what? Informed decision. And it also help in designing a what? A good dividend policy. A good dividend policy. And all this important of cost of capital for business is the way I narrow it. It is what? It is self-explanatory. That you can see that it help in designing a good dividend policy. It help in appraising the performance of top management. It also help in determining what? Company debt policy. Are we good to go? Hello?
Yes, sir. We are good to go.
Okay. Let's look at the difference source of finance. So we have three different source of finance. We have, you can get your source of finance through equity. You can also get it through what? Through debt, and you can also get it through preference share. So all these three is what we are going to be using when it's come to the practical aspect of it. If I say practical aspect of it, I'm referring to as the calculation aspect of it. So all this is what is very, very important. It is very, very important. So, and I said, note the average, all these three, equity, debt, preference share. So the average of the above different source of finance will be what? Will be the average cost to appraise such investment. Because if you are investing, so all these three sources of finance, the average all of them, it is what's going to represent the what? The cost to appraise such investment. And this approach, when we say the average, the approach of that average is called what? Weighted average cost of capital. So take note of that, because we are going to use that one as well. So the average of equity, debt, and preference share, we call it what? Weighted average cost of capital. Are we good to go? Do you have question?
Not
No,
Hello?
no, no question.
Okay. So another thing that we also need to discuss here is the what component of cost of capital. So the component of cost of capital consists of cost of equity, cost of debt, cost of preference, and what weighted average cost of capital. Do I've explained that earlier on. So let's begin to break it down one after the other. And I want you to pay attention to every detail, because it's very, very important, and you cannot rule it out. The cost of capital, you cannot rule it out in the examination condition. So you have to pay attention to every detail. Please pay attention to every detail, because each component is what we are going to test. Each component that you see, we are going to test them in a calculation aspect. Are we there? Hello?
Yes, sir.
So cost of equity, what I'm referring to as cost of equity is that the minimum return, when we say cost of equity, please take note of that. The minimum return that ordinary shareholder expected to receive from their investment, that's what I mean by cost of equity. That is, the shareholder, the return, the minimum return is what is expected or is expecting to receive from their investment. Meaning, if I'm the shareholder, I invest my money, maybe probably in your company, the minimum return I'm expecting to receive from that my investment is called cost of equity. Are we there?
Yes, we are. We are.
Hello, is it clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Yes, sir.
So that's what it, hello. Should I move on?
Yes, move on.
Okay. So that is cost of equity. I repeat, that cost of equity, it is the minimum return. It is the minimum return that ordinary shareholders expected to receive from their investment. That's what I mean by cost of equity. So when you invest your money, so as ordinary shareholder, the minimum return that you are expecting to receive from that investment is called what? Cost of equity. And this cost of equity can be measured in two ways. This is where we have to pay attention. My fellow colleagues, we have to pay what? Attention here. This cost of equity can be what? Measured in two ways. Number one is that we can measure it through dividend valuation model, because in exam condition, the examiner can give a question, maybe the calculation part of it, and yeah, they will ask you to calculate the cost of equity. It's either you measure it based on dividend valuation model. It's now depend on the information that is available. Whether the information given to you in that question, it is the information that go along with the what? With dividend valuation model. Another thing is that we can measure it through what? Capital asset pricing model. We call it CAPM. Capital asset pricing model. We call it CAPM. Now, take note of this. That is why I said this note, it is what? Self-explanatory. I prepare it in a manner that we can all pick it and what? Get it. So, I want to explain the first one, which is what? Dividend valuation model. I said when you are talking of this dividend valuation model, and I said state that the current expected, the current X market price of a share is a reflection of the what? Expected future dividend on that share. So that's what I mean by that dividend valuation model. State that the current X market price, if I say X market price, means excluding the current X market price of a share is a reflection of what expected future dividend of that share. And this X market price simply means excluding current dividend, because your market price can either be cum div or ex div. You get my point now? Is either your current market price, your market price is either they will quote it in the question to be cum div, or they will quote it to be what? Ex div. And when it is cum div, when the examiner give it to you as a cum div, take note of that. If the examiner give it to you as a cum div, always note that your market price per share inclusive of what? Dividend. That market price given to you, there is dividend in it if the examiner quotes it as what? Cum div. Are we good to go?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if you see exam condition and the examiner is giving you the market price and they said it is cum div, it means that there's a what is it called? The dividend, there is dividend in that market price. There's a what? Dividend in that market price. But when it is ex div, let's assume the examiner quotes it to be what? Ex div. Always note that it is what? Exclusive of what? Dividend. And the one we are going to use to determine the cost of equity, it is ex div. So meaning, if the examiner is giving you cum div, you must ensure that you convert it to what? Over to you now. If the examiner give it to you as cum div, you must ensure that you convert it to what?
Ex div.
Ex div.
Ex div.
Ex div. Ex div. That is why in my explanation here I said the one we are going to use in determining the cost of capital, it is what? Ex div. So if the examiner is giving you ex div, no cause of alarm, you don't need to convert anything. But as soon as the examiner is giving you to be cum div, you have to convert it back to what? To ex div. Are we good to go?
Yes, sir.
So definitely you have to be very careful whether the market price given to you, it is inclusive of dividend. If it is cum div, then you have to convert it back to what? To ex div. But if it is ex div, no problem, no need of conversion. Can we move on?
Yes, sir.
So I would say that, and the formula for cost of equity using dividend valuation model. You know, I said we are using two measure to calculate our cost of equity. Number one is that dividend valuation model. Number two is that what? Capital asset pricing model, which is CAPM. Then we want to start with the dividend valuation model. So the formula for cost of equity using dividend valuation model. So if I want to get my cost of equity, it now be cost of equity that I want to get under dividend valuation model can be grouped into two. Is either the cost of equity that I'm getting is without considering the growth rate, because it is possible for the examiner not to give you the growth rate and they ask you to calculate the cost of equity without giving information on growth rate as well. It means that cost of equity they ask you to do, it is what? Without growth rate. And then we have DNO, which is the DO over market value. And this market value, I repeat, this market value that you see here, is it market value that has to be cum div, or the market value that has to be what? Ex div?
Ex div.
Ex div, because we said we need ex div. So KE equal to cost of equity, D no equal to what? Current dividend, MV is equal to what? Current market value, that is price of the equity. Now, another thing is that apart from what is it called? Apart from cost of equity without considering the growth rate, we also have the cost of equity with growth rate. So when you account for a growth rate, the cost of equity formula change. So the formula incorporating the growth rate is what? Cost of equity is equal to what? D naught, open bracket, 1 plus growth rate, close the bracket, all over market value of what? X div plus what? Growth rate. And I explain because I've already explained this in the previous one. KE is equal to cost of equity. D naught is what? Current dividend. MV is what? Current share price of equity. And G is what? Estimated growth rate. Are we good to go?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, any question before we move on? Any question? Any question, please? Any question?
None from my end,
Hello.
sir.
No questions, sir.
Okay. Hope is well explanatory.
Yes, sir. It's
Yes,
thinking, sir.
Okay. So let's look at this example one. Who can read it for us?
Example 1, I read. All our students have just paid a dividend of 15 kobo per share, and the current share price is 1 naira 20 kobo. You are required to calculate the cost of equity.
Okay. Okay. So this is where we need to reason how the question look like, so that we know what and what based on what we just learned. So what's it called? This is where we are going to practicalize everything that we just learned. Online students have just paid a dividend. Look at that statement. Online dividend have just. Who can interpret that have just? Hello? Hello?
from
Hello
Okay, sir.
my
there?
hello, sir.
Okay, who
Yes,
can interpret that have just?
have just paid the
Yes,
dividend. That
yes, online dividend have
they
just
just
paid a
paid.
dividend.
That means they made the payment few minutes ago, a few seconds ago.
That is, they have just paid that dividend, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I want to ask question, is the dividend being paid or not? Has it been paid or not?
It has been
Yes,
paid.
It has been
from
paid.
this.
It means that online students have just paid a dividend of what? 50 kobo per share. And the current share price is what?
1 naira 20 kobo.
1 naira
20 kobo.
20 kobo. And what the question asks us to do?
Calculate the cost of equity.
Calculate the cost of equity. Now, when you want to calculate the cost of equity and you are using a dividend valuation model, and I said that dividend valuation model that you want to use, that cost of equity can also be calculated using two methods. Is either the cost of equity with growth rates or without growth rate. Which one are we going to consider?
Without growth rate.
Without growth rates.
Without growth rate, because they are not giving a growth rate. Are you getting this?
No, sir,
Yes,
please, sir,
sir.
can you recap?
You know, I said when you are calculating cost of equity and you want to use a dividend valuation model, I said that dividend valuation model that you are using to calculate cost of equity can also be what? Divided into two. Is either you are calculating cost of equity without considering a growth rate. That is, if the growth rate is not given and they are not giving you information to get it, or calculating the cost of equity with a growth rate if the growth rate is given. This is the formula. When the growth rate is given, if the growth rate is not given, this is the formula. Do you get my point? So now, based on this example 1, and we said, are we considering with growth rate or without growth rate?
Okay, without growth rate.
Without growth rate. I think it's clear.
Yes, sir.
Now, if we are considering without growth rate, then hold on, please. So, example 1. Example 1. Cost of equity cost of equity is equal to D no, right? Let the class be interactive, please. So what's the formula? D no over what?
MV.
Which is a market value, right?
Yes, sir.
So what is going to be my D no in the question? What's the meaning of D no?
Dividends. Current
15
dividend.
Current
15
dividend.
kobo.
Current dividend. So what's going to be my
15
current
kobo.
dividend?
15 kobo.
15 kobo.
15
Kobo.
kobo,
Kobo.
which is 0.15, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. All over market value. What's going to be my market value?
1.2.
1 naira
20 kobo.
20 kobo. No, this 1 naira 20 kobo now. Don't forget, we said the market value that we need is what? What type of market value that we need?
X.
What is the market value that we need, please? I'm listening.
XD.
SD. So this 1 naira 20 kobo, is it cum div or SDiv?
I think it's X, Steve.
Now, this 1 naira 20 kobo is a cum div because we are told that online students have just paid a dividend. It has just paid this dividend. Do you get it now? So it means that we are removing this 15 kobo from this 1 naira 20 kobo.
Okay. Okay.
Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So we can now say minus 15 kobo. So immediately you minus it, automatically you've already converted to what? To what's it called?
X, Steve.
To XD. So what do you have as your cost of equity now?
0.143.
Is it the down one or total?
Oh, sorry, total.
I don't get. The upper one is 0.15. What of
Yes,
the
I've
down one?
already divide. Okay, sorry, down one is going to be 1.05.
1.05. Then when you divide, what do you now have?
0.143. I've approximated it.
0 point,
143.
and you multiply it with 100 so that you convert it to percentage.
Okay, that's going to be 14.3%.
That is 14.3%. Is it cleared?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So any question, please, before we move on. Any question, please?
None from my end, sir.
Okay. Others?
None from me
Any
as well.
No
Okay.
question, sir.
Okay. So who can read the illustration 2 for us? Example 2.
Example 2, Johnson has just paid a dividend of 45 kobo per share. In recent years, annual dividend growth has been 5% per annum, and current share price is 3 naira 50 kobo. You are required to calculate the cost of equity.
So if you look at this question very well, Johnson had just paid a dividend of 45 kobo per share. In recent year, annual dividend growth has been 5% per annum, and current share price is 3 naira 50 kobo. So when you want to calculate the cost of equity, all the information that you need under dividend valuation model, is it there or not?
Yes, sir, it is.
It is there, sir.
Is there. What and what that you need under dividend valuation model that is there? What and what?
We have the dividend. We also
Dividend,
have
okay.
growth rate,
Okay.
and finally
And the
we have the
market share
market value.
price.
Market value. So now, since everything that we need under what's it called, dividend valuation model is there, now the one that we are going to use under dividend valuation model, is it the one on growth or the one without growth?
We growth.
The one on growth.
The one on growth. Why are we using the one on growth? The one on growth
Because,
rate.
because growth rate was given.
Annual dividend.
Go ahead, please.
Because we have a growth rate per annum.
Annual dividend was indicated.
Because we have growth rate.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Because we have what?
Because growth rate was given.
Okay. So let's look at where we are solving it. Oh, which one is the first one? I think there is issue here. Sorry. We miss out something here. Not a year ago. They said had just been paid. They just paid it. So meaning that money, that dividend is not there again. There's something that will miss out here. Sorry. Not a year ago. Just paid. So we have to correct this one. Hello, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we have to correct this.
Okay.
I've just paid. I've just paid. It's different from when they said a dividend was paid maybe 1 year ago. I just paid. That's what they said. So please correct it. What do you have? Hello.
So I have 0.12, sorry, 12.5%.
12.5%. Hope is cleared. So example 2. What happened is example 2. Which formula are we using in that example 2? So let the class be interactive. Which formula are we going to use for that example 2?
The one will be growth.
Okay, yeah, let's write it together. Which formula is that?
Dividend
Cost of equity, okay,
Equals
is equal to
D
DO
dividend
that is D, no, that is a
D no
current dividend, okay,
open
into
bracket
brackets
1 plus
two bracket,
1 plus growth G
1 plus growth rate, okay,
close brackets
close bracket, okay.
plus G.
So do the all over first so that we'll finish
All
the down
over
part.
M. Okay.
All over what?
All
MV
over market value
Market value, okay,
plus growth
plus what?
G.
G, okay, good. So based on based on the formula now, and we all agree that the information that we need is already stated in the question, right? Now,
Yes, sir.
what's going to be our D now, which is the current dividend?
45 kobo.
45 kobo, which is a 0.45, okay, followed by what?
1 plus growth into
Open
bracket.
bracket,
Yeah.
1 plus, so what's the growth rate?
That's 5%, 0.05.
Okay, 5%, which is 0.05. Then we close it, followed by what? We divide, right?
Yes, sir.
To market value. What's going to be our market value?
50 kobo.
So that 3 naira 50 kobo, is it ex div or cum div?
X div.
Ex div. Because we are told that the dividend has just, Johnson has just paid a dividend. It has just paid it, meaning that it is what? Excluding dividend. Because it has paid it. Are you getting it? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So,
sir.
which is 3 naira 50 kobo. Followed by what?
That's all.
plus zero
No.
point zero
plus
five.
Okay.
Yeah, the growth
0.05.
rate that is outside 0.05. So what do you have when you do your mathematics?
Total, the total of everything is 18.5%.
18.5%.
Please, why you confirm? Oh?
You can confirm, please. Hello.
18.5%.
Okay, good. Now, hope you are getting it, please.
Yes, sir. But I would like to ask a question, sir.
Okay, go ahead. Ask your question.
So I'm not so sure I get the XDiv and CumDiv part, right? I know that the
Okay.
first two examples that we've already taught, we first of all we subtracted the dividend from the first one, and then you said that no, it's not supposed to be subtracted. So is there? Can you give us like example where we're supposed to subtract it away? Like maybe you explain
Okay.
it so that we not make that mistake.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Let me see. Maybe I will have something like that here. Okay, look at this assignment because I prepare it so that I can give you guys this assignment. Salami PLC is currently trading at 12 naira 10 kobo per share. A dividend of 2 naira per share was paid 1 year ago, and the dividend have been grown at 5% per annum, meaning that if you pay 2 naira, if a dividend of 2 naira per share was paid 1 year ago, you understand, and that dividend, what happened, and that dividend has been what? Growing. Are we making sense?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes,
Hello.
sir. What would you, what would you say?
Yes, and
Yes, I'm
that dividend has been what? Growing. It means that this market price, this current trading, because this 12 naira 10 kobo represent your market price, because it says salami pay is currently trading. This is what is currently trading. Then a dividend of 2 naira per share was paid 1 year ago. But they did not mention CumDiv here, but it's because this 2 naira has been paid 1 year ago. Then the dividend has now been growing. It means that it is CumDiv. But then assuming they said a dividend of 2 naira per share had just been paid, that one is XDiv because it had just been paid. It will not be there again. You've already deducted it. But when they said a dividend of 2 naira per share was paid 1 year ago, that is, you've paid it in the past, but we are talking of the current dividend. Do you get my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Like,
Yes,
yeah, this
yes.
is actually convincing.
Because that DO represent current dividend, but this dividend that you see is a dividend that has been paid what? 1
A
year
year ago.
ago. A year ago. So definitely the what's it called? This current trading, which is market price given to you, is inclusive of dividend, because we are told that it has been growing. Is it clear? So it means that you have
Somebody
to
raised their
remove this
hand.
2 naira. Okay, who is that person? Please. The person should. I did not see anything. Okay. So, meaning if you want to calculate your market price now, it has to be 12 naira 10 kobo minus 2 naira, so that you can get your what? Your XDiv. This 12 naira 10 kobo, it is cum div. So then you have to subtract this 2 naira from it to get it
Sir,
as what? Div.
sir.
Go ahead, please.
Okay, so I get what you're trying to say. So if I explain, like the way I understand it is that dividend was paid a year ago and dividend should be paid yearly, right? So
Yes.
since dividend was paid a year ago and was supposed to pay another dividend this year, but they said that
Which is
dividend is
current
growing.
dividend. Which is current dividend. Yes.
Yes, current dividend, and they said dividend is growing at 0.05% per annum. Are we not supposed to do 2 naira plus 0.05% growth that will now minus
No,
it
no, no, no,
from
no,
the
no, no, no. You only remove. You can only remove. What's it called? That you know the formula that you are using. You know you are using the formula that will contain the growth rate,
growth. Yes.
right? So if you
Yes.
are using the formula that will contain the growth rate, then if they said, look at where the question is now, they now say this growth in dividend is expected to continue. So, and the dividend has been growing at 5% per annum. That is every year from two. You understand, which is the first one that I said it is 1 year ago. So the next one will now be what?
2.1.
2.1. Do you get the logic? It means that if that one is 2, the first one, and the dividend have been growing at 5% per annum, so the next one will not be. It's just like when you have something like this. Let me open so that we can be on the same page. Are we all there?
Yes, sir.
So we have 2 naira for the first one. Then this 2 naira that you see for the first one, let's say it represents 100%. So for you to get, you know, they say per annum. For you to get another one, it will be okay. They said there is 5%. There's 5% what? 5% increase. So if this one is 100%, the first one is 100%, then the second one will be 105. Do you get the logic? Hello?
Yes, sir.
The logic is that if the first one is 100%, there is an increase of 5% to it, then it will be 105. So 105 of 2 naira will be what? 105% multiplied by that 2 naira will be what? Hello?
That's 2.1. Yes.
That is
1.
2.1. Yes. Is either you calculate 5% of 2 naira, whatever you get, add it back to 2 naira. Or just say,
Yeah.
but because it is possible for them to say the dividend has been growing at 10%. If the dividend has been growing at 10%, it means that it will be 110%. The first one is 100%. They now say it has been growing at 10%, it will be 110. But this time around, they said the dividend has been growing at 5%. It means that if it has been growing at 5%, then it has to be 105%. The third one, you know, it is whatever you get as 2.1. Now, if you want to get the third one, it now be how many percent again? That's to be increased. That's the logic. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So if I want to calculate my what's it called? If I want to calculate my cost of equity, I will now say D no, which is what's going to be my current dividend.
2 naira.
2 naira. Are we there?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Open bracket 1 plus growth rate. So what's going to be my growth rate?
0.05.
Then I will close it. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
I think you're.
All over
Sorry, sir.
market value. What's going to be my market value?
Sir, someone is asking a question.
Okay, ask your question, please.
Sorry, sir. I think the screen is not moving. I don't know if it's from my side or from your end. Can
Can you
any
see?
other person see? Yes, I can see
My
the
screen
course of. I can see the
is
course
my
of.
screen not visible?
I can see course of moving, but I don't see what you're writing.
No, I'm not writing. You know, I
Oh,
want to give it as an assignment. So that's why I don't
oh,
want to solve it.
okay,
I'm
sir.
only explaining that the formula that we are going to use is this formula D no open bracket 1 plus growth rate, close the bracket, over market value plus growth rate. And I said what's going to be my current dividend. What's going to be my dividend, the current dividend?
2 kobo.
Not 2 kobo, 2 naira.
2 naira.
2 naira.
Sorry, 2 naira.
Open bracket, right? 1 plus
Yes, sir.
growth rate. What's going to be my growth rate?
0.05.
Okay, because they said the growth rate is 5%. When we close it all over market value, what's going to be my market value?
12.1 minus 2.
Not minus 2, minus 2.1. You've already calculated it here now to be 2.1.
Minus.
You said what?
Why are we having minus?
It's because the market price given to you, it is cum div. And I said we don't need cum div, we only need S div. So if we need S div, we have to subtract the dividend because they said the dividend has not been paid. The dividend that you see here, which is the 2 naira, it was paid 1 year ago. And the dividend has been growing at 5% per annum. So it means that after this 1 year ago, the another dividend has not been paid. So it means that that dividend that has not been paid is inclusive of this 12 naira 10 kobo. And that is what we calculated here. That if the first dividend they paid, which is 2 naira, are we there?
Yes, sir.
So which is 2 naira, because this 2 naira, it is not a current dividend. Do you agree? That 2 naira, is it a current dividend or future dividend?
It's a past dividend.
It passed 1 year ago.
Yeah, that is dividend, the past dividend, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
the past dividend. Now, all over market value should be 12 naira 10 kobo. If we are told that the dividend has just been paid, but after this 2 naira, the following dividend has grown by 5% but has not been paid. Look at the continuation. They said the company is expected to pay the next dividend very shortly. Can you see? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You can see the concluding part. The company is expected to pay the next dividend very shortly. It means that that next dividend has not been paid. Hope it's clear now.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So if let us assume we want to solve it together. Let me see what you are going to solve. Let's do it together. Let's do it together. I want to give it as assignment before, but let's do it together. Because we still have the complex word that we are going to do when next we meet, but we have to take it from slowly like this. So cost of equity will now be what? To be what? Let's do it together.
2
2, okay,
into brackets
into brackets,
1 plus 0.05
1 plus 0.05, which is the growth rate. Close it,
yes
okay,
all over
all over
12.1
12.1, okay.
minus 2.1.
Why are we minus 2.1? Because we are told that the company is expected to pay the next dividend very shortly. It has not been paid. But let us assume the question was saying that the company is paid, the company has just been paid the next dividend, then you don't need to subtract. Or let's say the next dividend has just been paid. So we don't need to subtract it. We know that the company has already paid it. And I believe that everybody know how we arrive at 2.1, because the dividend that we see here, that the one they paid 1 year ago, it is 2. It is 2 naira. Then I say that 2 naira have been growing at 5% per annum. So then I said this growth in dividend is expected to continue. So 2 naira, when the 2 naira grow by 5% again, it will be 2.1 if you calculate it. Because that 2 naira, it is 100%. They now say additional 5% has increased to that 2 naira. It will be 2.1. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Hello. So plus growth rate again.
0.05
What's the final answer?
26%.
26%. 26%. So the cost of equity, it is 26%. So any question? Any question? Hello?
None
That's
for me,
all.
sir.
Feel free to ask your question. Feel free to ask your question, please. Or you don't have question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now, I think I've done that. So look at another thing that we also need to think of, because this is how the examiner can play with the question. How to derive growth rate in what dividend valuation model. So let's assume they are not giving you the growth rate, but they are giving you the information that you need. Is it clear? So it is possible for you to be given information that the growth rate will not be given, that is, the growth rate will be unknown. Then they are going to give you information to calculate your growth rate. That's what I said. If the growth rate is unknown, the following can be used to determine the growth rate. Number one, we can use what we call historical or past dividend pattern. Number two, we call it Gordon growth model, which is otherwise known as what? Earnings retention model. So all these two approach can be used when growth rate is not given in your question, but the information that you need to calculate the growth rate is there, but the growth rate is not given, but the information is there. Is either the information is based on historical slash past dividend pattern, or the information given to you is based on the Gordon's growth model. Are we there?
Yes,
Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think when next we meet, we are going to continue from this, how to derive the growth rate in the dividend valuation model, so that we can do question. You can see a lot of question under it, so that we can do question on it as well. You get my point? So before we can now move to the complex, because I have a complex question too. So that complex question is what we are expecting in exam condition. You see the complex question. So where we combine every approach that we learn, when we combine it together, you can see these are the complex questions. So all the approach that we learn, so we have to combine all of them together.
Okay, sir. Sir, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, please.
When can we have access to the material?
You said what?
The material, are we going to be able to have access to it?
Is it the note? Is it the note
Ye-
I'm using?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You guys will have access to that.